What's up, guys and gals? It's the Tyrant here, and welcome back to my weekly Q&A session where you guys ask the questions and I give you the answers. We got some exciting news yesterday about the Halo TV show, and if you're looking at the title of this and you want to jump straight to that discussion, I'll be putting an ad break in this video, so you can jump right to it, but I do hope that you watch the rest of the Q&A as well, and I hope you enjoy it. Now, we had a lot of great questions this week. I am keeping it a bit short because I've got a bit of a full schedule today, but so I do apologize in advance if I don't get to your question, especially if there's someone that I told you I would answer it. So if that ends up being the case, please go ahead and just remind me next week, either by Twitter or in the comment section below, and I will get to it then. So we're going to go ahead, and before I do get started, speaking of Twitter, I do have a little poll on there just asking a generic question about the Q&As in general, how you feel about them, how you feel about the frequency of them. So if you want, go ahead and jump on Twitter and just cast your vote real quick, and let me know what you think. So for those of you who want to submit a question to the Q&A, there are 3 ways that you can do it. You can ask it in the comment section below, or you can ask it me on Twitter, or if you are a patron donor, you can ask it in the Discord. Just a quick heads up, I've noticed that some people are asking Q&As in other videos, which is fine, but I do tend to miss them a little bit if that's the case, so I would try to stick to those other methods, but whatever way you want to ask them, I guess is fine. So let's go ahead and jump right into this. Our first question of the week comes from Paneet Kumar, and Paneet asks, Q&A, Tyrant, don't you think that Halo lore should remain as expanded materials rather than basing the whole game story on it, as we saw what happened with Halo 5? Do you think Bungie did good by focusing on their games rather than lore? Nothing against lore fans. This is pretty much spot on. I think Halo 5 relied way too much on outside lore. Actman actually has a video, he has an entire series regarding Halo 5, and he pretty much outlines that, I think it was like 8 different outside source materials that Halo 5 pulled from, which to me is crazy. Now, I love outside lore too. I don't consider myself a hardcore lore fan necessarily. The last book I read was Ghost of Onyx, but I do plan on reading Bad Blood, but I don't think that they should focus so much on outside lore. You know, Bungie did put Easter eggs of outside lore in Halo games for folks that did read the books. For example, Sergeant Johnson coming back in Halo 2, despite the ending from Halo Combat Evolved. Now, if you didn't read First Strike, you're not going to know how he came back, but it doesn't really alter the story that much. Now, even though he did play a big part in it, but if you want to know, then it details it in First Strike. So I think that's the way that they should keep it in the future. Keep the main story in the games, but put little Easter eggs in there for folks who do read the books too. So I hope that answers your question. That certainly was a great one, my friend. Our next question comes from Andrew Schmidt, and Andrew asks, Q&A, if Halo Infinite is open world, how would you set up the campaign so that the world wouldn't feel so empty? Great question. So I think at this point I would take a chapter out of Bungie's book and base it off of Halo 3 ODST's type of setting, because really the only open world setting we've had in Halo is the Mombasa streets from that game. And what was nice about it is you had, you know, a pretty sizable chunk of the city that you could wander around in. There were always Covenant troops wandering around in the streets that you could encounter. And I think a good way to do that for an open-world Halo game that was much larger would be have multiple factions roaming around that would at times engage each other as well as you, and maybe even have a point where you could call in like Marine support or something like that. And that way it feels a little bit more organic to the situation. Maybe have some of the wildlife attack some of the enemies or even player. In addition to that, just make the world feel both organic and alive, and I think that's one way that they could certainly do it. But you guys let me know in the comments below what you think. Our next question comes from Stacking Benjis, and Stacking Benjis asks, Q&A, if when Master Chief won't be the main character in a future title anymore, who do you think should take his place? If they will continue the team format, I think they should allow the player to choose who he plays. What are your thoughts? Well, so that's certainly an option in terms of the team format. I can see that being the case. In terms of characters that I'm attached to in the Halo lore, I would say Jerome would be a very good candidate for that. Also possibly Buck, because I know Buck is a favorite for everybody, and I personally like Buck. I mean, who doesn't like the Firefly Captain? So I would say, yeah, he's certainly an option too. Obviously, Master Chief can't be in the games forever. I'm sure, you know, Steve Downes is probably going to want to retire at some point. Don't know when. Not like he's said that he was going to do that, but, you know, eventually, you know, I'm sure that they're going to go with somebody else, especially if they go with my theory, and I think Master Chief may eventually bow out of the series and his story might come to a close. But that doesn't mean that they can't have Master Chief featured in prequel titles, so you never know. But yeah, I would say either Jerome or Buck for now. But you guys let me know in the comments below who you would like to see as a main character in another Halo game. Our next question comes from Patrick Thomas, and Patrick asks, Halo Q&A, do you think the musical tone at the end of the Halo Infinite trailer, Finish the Fight, is a hint of Marty O'Donnell's return? The short answer is I don't think so, because I've seen some of the Twitter banter between Marty and some of the 343 staff, and it doesn't sound like he's really being included. Now, that could all be a ruse for all I know. Maybe he is working with them. Obviously, he doesn't work for Bungie anymore. I know that he's currently doing his own thing, so it's certainly possible they could contract him out to do some of the music for Halo Infinite. I don't know if that's the case. It would be awesome if it is. Honestly, I think 343's current composers are doing a great job, and I think that if they wanted to base the themes of Halo Infinite on older themes that are in the Halo series, that they can pull it off. So, but I would certainly love to see Marty come back as well. I don't know for sure, but it doesn't seem like it at the moment. But again, time will tell. Our next question comes from Arc48, and Arc48 asks, Q&A, what's your favorite movie and why? I'm going to guess Jurassic Park. Well, dude, I do love my dinosaurs, that is for sure. I've loved dinosaurs since I was a little kid. Surprisingly, Jurassic Park is not my favorite movie. It's certainly up there. It's one of my favorite movies, both Jurassic Park and The Lost World. I love them both. But my favorite movie of all time, if I had to pick just one, would be Independence Day. It's not really an original concept in terms of alien invasions, but of all the films I've seen, including World of Worlds, that involve alien invasions, I feel like Independence Day did the best job in terms of execution. Now, I'll also say that I think that's Roland Emmerich's only good film, and I was really shocked to see how Independence Day Resurgence turned out in comparison. But, you know, the way... You know, you have the explosive opening credits, you have the giant ship looming towards Earth, and then it breaks apart into the, well, it releases the smaller ships that are still city-sized. And, you know, so they come to Earth, they come disguised as fiery clouds, and then at first people think that they might be peaceful, and then they destroy the cities, and then humanity attacks back, but they lose, and they try to nuke the aliens, and they still lose, and then finally they come back at the end, and they have a global counter-strike against the aliens, and then you've got Will Smith and Jeff Goldblum dealing with the mothership. I just thought it was very well done. I love the dialogue, I love the character development, and even though there are a lot of characters in the film, I feel like you connect with them very well. So, hands down, I'd have to say Independence Day is the movie that I never get sick of. Having said that, if I had to pick a favorite comedy, I know this wasn't your question, but I usually divide movies into either serious or comedic, and like horror and everything falls under serious, and then there's comedy. And if I had to pick a funny movie to watch, I'd have to say Rat Race. If you haven't seen it, it stars John Cleese, of course, Monty Python, and it has an entire star-studded cast. If you haven't seen Rat Race, I highly recommend it. It's an excellent film. But yes, but you guys let me know in the comments below what your favorite movie is. Our next question comes from Divine Hero, and Divine Hero asks, Q&A Tyrant, if the Didact does return, which I hope he does, do you think that the Forerunners who left the galaxy after the firing of the Halo array will return to help the Master Chief defeat him once and for all? I personally hope not. Now, I didn't know that Forerunners had actually left the galaxy. Again, shows you how much I actually know about the lore outside the games. Having said that, the reason why I don't want to see that is because I'd rather see the galaxy work together to defeat this ominous, more powerful foe than to essentially pull a Lord of the Rings Return of the King move. Now, I say this with love to a point because going back to movies, the Return of the King is one of my favorite movies out there. But one of the things that kind of made me tilt my head a little bit is when they summon that ghost army and just straight up, down, up, down, up, down, up, left, right, A, B, start, the battle right there, and just sweep right through. I mean, I know there were that Mordor was pretty much on the losing side at that point anyway, but I was just kind of like, whoa, wait a minute, that's it? So I would rather see a more climactic joining of forces, if you will, to defeat the Didact, if he is in Halo 6, and I hope he is as well, then have the Forerunners just swoop in at the last minute and save the day. I feel like that would just cheapen the mood, personally. But you guys, let me know what you think. Our next question comes from Prophet Arbiter, and Prophet Arbiter asks, Q&A, Tyrant, if 343 wants people to buy or play Master Chief Collection again after the update, what if they removed sprint and armor abilities from Halo 4 matchmaking? And if they did, do you think this would draw any attention? This much attention would bring it back to bring people back to Master Chief Collection? The short answer is no, I don't. Most people I know who play multiplayer in the Master Chief Collection play either Halo 3 or Halo 2. Sometimes they go the vintage route and play Combat Evolved, but I don't see a lot of activity revolving around Halo 4, and my guess is people who do like to play Halo 4 in the Master Chief Collection are probably fine with it the way it is. And maybe there's some people out there who would like a classic mode too, but it would be, they couldn't just remove armor abilities and sprint, they'd have to remove the loadouts. I mean, they'd have to basically rebuild the entire experience, which I don't think it would be worth their time, but who knows? You know, you guys let me know. Would you be more interested in going back to the Master Chief Collection if they completely revamp the Halo 4 multiplayer? Let me know in the comments below. And our final question of the week, our star question, comes from Dale Lee Mixon. Always good to see you here, my friend. And Dale asks, Q&A, what time period do you think the Halo TV series will take place in, since it's now confirmed that it's being worked on? So yes, big announcement yesterday. Showtime officially greenlit the Halo TV series, which is extremely exciting. It's basically been in the void for the last 5 years. We don't know a lot about it at this point. We do know that they're going to be shooting later this year. I believe that's what they said, and it's supposed to be they're aiming for a 2019 release, a later 2019 release. It's supposed to be 10 episodes long, and the description specifically talks about humans fighting the Covenant. My immediate reaction to that, and my immediate thought that came to mind, was that this is going to take place at least partially before the events of Halo Combat Evolved. I don't know that for sure, but that's when the major part of the war between the UNSC and the Covenant took place. I honestly hope that is the case here, because to me that's one of the most fascinating parts of the entire Halo lore, is the stuff that took place before Halo, the looming alien presence, the colony worlds falling left and right, and just the Covenant slowly edging more towards Earth as the human empire starts to fall. It's a very fascinating time period. I actually really enjoyed the movie Forward Unto Dawn, so I know that they can handle a movie in that time period very well. So to see it, it's supposed to be 10 episodes long, which I think is great. I think it's just shy of a typical Netflix series. So I think that's a great idea. Here's what I'm really hoping for, though. I don't want to see them milk this for everything that it's worth. I'm hoping that before they start shooting the show, that they know how it's going to end. Because I've seen other franchises out there just keep going. They'll throw in as much wacky stuff as they can as long as the ratings are up. The best example of a show that knew when it was time to go was Breaking Bad. And you know what? I'll even throw in Bates Motel there. Because in both instances, they knew the story they wanted to tell. And so, you know, it took Breaking Bad 5 seasons with an extended 5th season. It took Bates Motel 5 seasons as well. They knew how the show was going to end when it first started. And I think that's the best way to go, is to tell a good story, not stretch one out to the point where it stops mattering anymore. It doesn't matter to anyone. The best example of that one, there's 2 of them, again, the X-Files. I think the first 7 seasons are some of the best television ever. After that, they pretty much just ran it into the ground, and they're still doing it in 2018. The other series is, of course, more recent, is The Walking Dead. And I've read all the comics except for the most recent ones. I think I'm probably missing 1 or 2 from New World Order. But looking at that and seeing how much the show has derailed from the comics, especially with Andrew Lincoln leaving, which I think is a smart move on his part, I think they really need to start wrapping up the show, because it really feels like it's dragging on. But I don't know if they will or not. And the funny thing is, that's an AMC show, just like Breaking Bad. And Breaking Bad knew when to stop. And I think that was, I mean, it was still very popular on television. It's still heavily revered today. And I want to see Halo go that route. I want them going into it knowing, even if the show's popular, even if it's not popular, what is the story they want to tell. If it's going to last 10 episodes, that's fine. Leave it at 10 episodes and let it go out with a bang. Let it live on through Netflix and other services so that people can keep talking about it for years and years to come. If it's going to take 3 seasons or 5 seasons, that's fine too. Just don't go beyond that mark. Don't ruin the show, and don't ruin Halo. And I don't think they're going to do that. I have a feeling that it took them this long to come up with the Halo TV show, that they're going to do a bang-up job. I'm really looking forward to it. If I were to actually pinpoint a plot line that I would go for, I would have it start in the events prior to Halo. I would have it at least meet up with the fall of Reach, towards the end, and then at the very end of the show include some things from Halo Combat Evolved. I think everything after Halo Combat Evolved went from science fiction to sort of a space opera type thing, which works fine for the games, but I'm not really sure that... I think it would be a little bit too jarring for television if they went from science fiction to science fantasy so fast. So I hope that if to me, that seems like it'd be the most solid plan. It would be giving some fan service to people who are still fans of the original game, like myself, while also telling a more in-depth story about the things that happened leading up to it. I think that there's infinite potential there. Lots of things happen in Human Covenant War, lots of events, and I think that there's a lot of different perspectives and a lot of stories that you can tell in that regard. I don't want to see this take place post-Halo 5. I think that's what Bad Blood is for, and hopefully they'll stick to the core stuff. I know that there are a lot of legacy Halo fans out there that are really looking forward to this, especially since the movie with Peter Jackson was pretty much shelved. A lot of people want to see this thing work out well. A lot of people want to see Halo properly represented on television. I'm rooting for them. I'm looking forward to it, and I can't wait to see it. I'm certainly hoping for the best here, and I think that they're going to be on point with it. I think they're going to deliver, and I hope that if Master Chief is in it at all, that this time they get Steve Downes to voice him over. By the way, it is Steve Downes' birthday, so definitely give him a shout out on Twitter. Happy birthday, Steve. So yeah, that's what I think about the Halo TV show so far. Those are my predictions. That's what we know, and that's what I'm hoping for. So what are you guys expecting from the Halo TV show? What do you want to see? What do you expect to see? And I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below, or please feel free to hit me up on Twitter at MythicTyrant. A link to my Twitter feed can be found in the description below. And I want to take a moment to thank each and every one of you for taking the time out of your busy day to sit down and watch this video. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, I hope you'll consider subscribing for more great content right here on MythicTyrant.com. Thank you guys and gals so much for watching. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. I'll catch you all right back here next time. And as always, I'm the Tyrant, signing off.